Okay, good evening, Chavra. We are going to be starting from the Gemara in Yud Amid Beis. Amar Rav Huna, the dot smack in the middle, will come out almost in the middle of the Gemara, like 6 lines from the top, from 6 lines into the wide line. Zok the other Gemara. Amar Rav Huna retzech shagala li'ir miklat umatzo retzech shagala li'ir miklat umatzo gal adam v'harav pater. If the guy's running on the way to the Ari Miklat and the Goy Adam finds him and he kills him, he's pater. That means Rav Huna holds it the pasuk that says "V'loy ein mishpat maves b'Goy Adam who dechsib." This pasuk that says "V'loy ein mishpat maves" is talking about the Goy Adam. Then when the Goy Adam kills the he's pater. If the Gemara v'loy ein mishpat maves b'ritzeach akas medaber, we have a brayse that says they're talking about the ritzeach. Maybe how do you know that's talking about the ritzeach? Talking about the goy ladam because you aimer who loy saina loy mitzvah shleisha. The pasuk says he did not hate him from yesterday and the day before. Having ritzeach akas medaber. It's talking about the Ritzech. So we're already talking about the Ritzech that he's not chayiv. In other words, the pasuk is mentioning that the Ritzech is not chayiv because the Ritzech, the original, right, the Ritzech b'shegig is not chayiv because he did not hate him, and therefore I don't have to tell you again that he's not chayiv because that he doesn't initial because that's what we're referring to when we say that he's not. That he didn't hate him. Everything who the alaki haitana the Tanya v'loyin mishvat maves b'goy adam akasav v'daber. It's talking about the goy adam, like Rav Huna just said. Ata ayim b'goy adam akasav v'daber and v'ritzeach. Maybe it's talking about the ritzeach and the Gemara. The Rice continues. Ayim ki loy sayna who loy mitmal shilsham harei ritzeach aymer. It's already talking about the ritzeach. So I'm sorry. The first way of learning is that we wanted to say it's talking about the same way the pasuk is talking about the Ritzeach in the beginning of the pasuk. It's talking about the Ritzeach at the end of the pasuk. But over here we're saying no, because you already mentioned that the Ritzeach is off the hook because he's not a signer. So over here we're talking about Kein Mishpat Maves. It's talking about the Goy Adam. Tanan the Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, "My love the masturbate." So it's a kasha on Rav Huna because Rav Huna said you're pater, but we're assuming that the reason for the Tamid Chacham to be malava the Ritzeach b'shegeg to the or miklat is in order to be master the goy adam because he's chayiv. In other words, he's not allowed to kill the ritzeach. Because if he kills him, he's chayiv misa and he needs hasra. And they want to look at the Tanya. You tell him things that are appropriate for him to hear. Don't treat him like a murderer. Why? He killed him accidentally. Don't treat him like a murderer. Now, this already is not important because the whole point. This is just agad, because we already established what the words of the Talmidei Chacham are for. Rameir is just arguing on the Tanakama and this Bryce, and he's saying that he doesn't need Talmidei Chacham or that he can speak on himself. These are the words that the Ritzeach says himself. Now, it doesn't have to mean like that, obviously, because otherwise the Chacham have a fair shpasa against them. But it means this is. Rameir translates it literally. This is the words of the Ritzeach, that the Ritzeach himself should defend himself. Amrulai, they said to him, a lot more gets accomplished through an intermediary. Sometimes a person, you do something wrong to somebody, and you're going to show up to the meeting himself, and it's going to bring up a lot of old emotions. It's going to be very counterproductive. So therefore, you send someone else in between. So over here also, you have the Talmidei Chachamim intervene. You don't have the guy that killed this guy's father and start trying to minfaiz him. Oh, it's okay. Shita. No, what are you saying? You just said before that what the Tanakhama said. What did the Talmidei Chacham tell this Goy Adam? Right? What's the big chiddush over here that they're going to show? Is that he did a b'shegeg. The Ibn Mazid Bar Galasu obviously he did a b'mazid. Otherwise, I'm sorry. Obviously he did a b'shegeg because if he did a b'mazid, he wouldn't be going to Galus b'chlal. Everything were in, he would go to Galus. Why? In Tanya, basically, by Yehuda. I mean, we had this already. Everybody runs as soon as the guy drops dead, you run to the Ari Miklat, to Bezin Shalchan Umavian Asam, Misham, Bezin comes and gets you, Mishan is Chayib, and they bring you, and they try you, they try the person, Mishan is Chayib, Misa Argo, they kill him. Shenema v'shalchu ziknei ha'iroi v'lachu oisei misham v'nasnu oisei b'yad goy ladam, and they give him to the hands of the goy ladam. Now there's a machlekes v'shayim if this is referring to, it's like a lab dafka that they, or either that they give it to him either that they give him to goy ladam, even if they could pass it on him that he's chayav misa, they could still give him away to be handled in house, as they say, or it's dafka in a place, dafka in a time where they can't convict him, but it wasn't done b'sheigeg, then they say, okay, fine, we'll cut you loose. You don't go to Galus, but the guy's relatives are around the corner waiting for him. Whoever is not Machayev Misa, they pater him. They give him a stempel that he's pater. There's honest or a carved honest. Shenema v'hatzilu ha'edas ha'etzeach miyad goy ladam mishen is chayiv galus machzirin oisei them kaimei shenemar v'heshivu oisei ha'eda el ir mikla asher nas shama. So we're saying that this member is that he runs to this. Rabbi Yehuda says the first thing is the guy drops dead and his retzeach runs to Ari Miklat. Then they bring him back to Bezin, they pass him to him accordingly, and if he's chayiv takan galus, then he goes back. So we're saying on the way back from Bezdin l'chayra, we're telling you that we found him innocent, and he's not. We found him that is b'shoiging, and you shouldn't kill him. Now again, not that you can't, but that you should have a chmanas on him. Rabbi Eimer Me'atzman Hein Goylin. Rabbi says this very similar things, but they say it's not a chiyuv and it's not something that Bezin orchestrated, but they would do it on themselves. Why? No, it's even the b'mezid again. Rabbi Rabbi Yehuda seems to say that everyone has to run away. It seems like more like a mitzvah that's how it was set up, like on an institutional level. But Rabbi seems to say that everyone, as soon as they drop the body, they would run to the Ayamikla. Why? Because they thought these murderers didn't spend a lot of time in yeshiva, and they thought that the city that's what do they call this? With the cities for the Chevra, the refuge city, I forgot the lesson, but the city was saved everybody. The hain any other shbishayik cultus b'mezid and cultus. Fine. So there's Amar Rabbi Lazar ir shiru b'reitzchem ein cultus. Once you have so many people in the city, so many reitzchem that ran to the city b'shayik, that it's already there 51%. Imagine living in a city like that as Nebuch. And then already it doesn't work anymore. And why have we know the Shenema? It says in the pasuk v'davar. V'diber be'aznei ziknei ha'ir hahi es dvarov. Tell him your business. Tell him what's going on. V'loi shehushvu dvareim l'dvar. It shouldn't be that you guys are all talking the same sugya. In other words, the Zikanim have to be in a different place, and the city has to be not a bunch of reitzchim. And you come in and you're saying a pesach chiddush, but that you're a ritzeach, and you have this way you have to deal with. Not that you're dealing with the same thing everyone else is dealing with. Rabbi Lazar ir she'ein ba zikanim ein akaltas. We're gonna have a machlekes, a bunch of different things about zikanim, and whether you need zikanim, whether it's zafka. Again, ir she'ein ba zikanim ein akaltas. The beinan ziknei ir v'leka. That's Rabbi Lazar shita. That you need that when it says ziknei ir, it's dafka. Amar itmar metgelent ir she'ein ba zikanim. Reb Ami Reb Asi chad amar kaltas chad amar ein akaltas. So again, very simple. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi argue on this halacha that Rabbi Lazar said. They argue if it's true or not, and they say that the one that says that it's cultus, it's only because it's time. This is the mitzvah. It's the way it's supposed to be. But if it's not, you don't have zikanim. It's not akim. Another machlekes va'ir she'ein zikanim Rabbi Ami Rabbi Asi chadam nasib ben Sarah Meir v'chadam ein nasib ben Sarah Meir. Again, the same idea with the Sarimar. If you need Zakanim or not, if it's Dafka or not, or it's just the way the mitzvah is supposed to be done. Maybe Egla Rufa Vachad Amar maybe Egla Rufa. Lemanda Any maybe Egla Rufa Beinan Zikne Ir Tahi Belaka. Lemanda Amar Mibai. Maybe Agla Rufa mitzvah ba'am. Again, Agla Rufa is also interesting, connected to death. If they find a corpse in the middle of nowhere, they measure to see the closest city, and that city, that city has to bring out a whole production, and they have to bring out a calf, and there's a Canaan come out, and they say we didn't kill this guy. It's a whole shuttle over there, but a city that doesn't have Zakanim, we say, according to either Ami or Rasi, says that we don't have to bring it again, whether they're arguing on all these cases, whether Ziknei Ir is Dafka or Lav Dafka. We're talking about in Yeshua. In Yeshua, where in Stam, the whole Yeshua, Rashi says, was said with Lashon Vayomer, which is, we know, I forgot the last the pasuk. Kisag the bnei Yisrael the yom the beis Yaakov. I get to we see that the lashon v'yomer is a soft lashon, and the lashon v'yidab is a strong lashon. We're going to see that beferish and psukim later. So how come the Gemara asks Naaman Parshas writes to him the lashon azeh in Yeshua when Hakadosh Baruch Hu was telling Yeshua the parsha to take care of the Ari Miklat in Eretz Yisrael after the Yeshivas Eretz Yisrael. Why is it said Lashon Vaydaber? The Chsiv Vaydaber Shem Al Yeshua Leimar Dabra B'nei Yisrael. Leimar Tenu Lechem As Ari HaMiklat Asher Devarti Alechem. And the Gemara, the reason is Mifnei Shehein Shal Torah. They're talking about the words of the Torah. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is referencing the words of the Torah, and it was already written there. So therefore, it's a lashon vayidaber. The member, the chol dibur lashon kashu, and the Gemara the Gemara says, is dibur taka lashon kashu? And the Gemara says, yes. This is talking about the 10 shvatim that went to 10 shvatim minus, in other words, 12 minus Yosef and Binyamin. So the 10 shvatim went down to Mitzrayim, and they got stuck. Shimon got stuck there, and he came back to Yaakov Avinu, and he said the following words. Diber ish hadaini haaretz aisanu kashes. So you see the word diber. He spoke to us lashon kashes, and diber is kashes. And obviously we know the story, but there we don't have to be married. But Tanya nidfer gemara. Tanya nidberu ain't nidberu. This is talking about the Yirei Hashem are going to talk to each other, and it says lashon nidberu. Ein nidberu ela lashon nachas. Over there it's a lashon nachas. So you see daber, and you see lashon nachas. It's a kasha. V'cheinu omer. Yad B'Am Tachtenu. Yad B'Am refers to Yad is not even lashon diber as in speaking. It just means that we're going to be madrich. The Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to make it that the nations under us follow us after Mashiach comes, and it's going to be benachas. It's not going to be a war, because you would think that again, if we're subjugating. I think that's right. If we're going to take over and have other nations follow us, it might be also with force. But it's, the Gemara, this case is an example of after Mashiach comes when they're going to be beratzin. Imagine the chaver that hate us the most; they're going to be running to serve us. It's just it's a paradigm shift that we in the world that we can't have a havana. But we should take a bizarre to see it b'mehera. Mamish. Yad B'Am Tachtenu. I'm thinking about Daber L'chod and Yidaber L'chod. Yadber L'chod. And included in Yadber is Nidber. In other words, any sort of variation is its own pshat, but Daber is a lashon Azah, and we have an explanation of why. Simane Rabbana Mehemni V'Sifri. Apology about Rabbi Yehuda Rabbana Chad Amar Mefnei Shashien V'Chad Amar Mefnei Shehen Shatayah. There's a machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan, why it was b'lashon azah. The Gemara already answered that it's because it's Dvar Torah. But there's another sheet that says it's the reason because Yeshua ben Nun, he waited a little bit. He didn't do the right away. And Hakadosh Baruch Hu had to raise his voice or talk in a more stern fashion to get him to do it, or as part of the process of him being delayed. Vayichtay Yeshua as Advar. Now another machlekes with Rabbi Yehuda something completely unrelated. It has to do with Yeshua, but it's not really related to the sugya. Yichtav Yeshua as a dvar ma'ela b'sefer Torah Elokim. So it says in Yeshua, this is a pasuk in Yeshua, and it says that Yeshua wrote. I think it's in Yeshua. Yeah, it's in Yeshua. It says that Yeshua wrote these words in the Sefer Torah Elokim. So what are we talking about? Pligi Rabbi Yehuda Menachem Yechad Amar Shemaina Psukim V'chad Amar Aryeh Mikla. Chad Amar Shemaina Psukim. Shemaina Psukim is talking about from Rashi says from Vayamas Moshe. Mivayamas Sham Moshe ad Sefer. Rashi says from Vayamas Sham Moshe, because obviously if the person says that Moshe died, then Moshe didn't write anymore. So there's other shittas that explain how that happened, but Akash Baruch wrote himself. Or whatever. One of the shittas over here that we have in the Gemara is that Yeshua ben Nun wrote it. So very nice. Why? It says beferish. He wrote it in Hashem's Sefer, Hashem's book, and those are the 8 psukim that he wrote. Makes a lot of sense. But if you say that he wrote about the Aryeh Miklat, he wrote in his word, in his Sefer, as hadvar ma'elach suvim b'sefer Torah Elikim. This mitzvah, again, there's not a lot of mitzvahs in Navi. So the fact that I don't think so. This is a parsha in the Torah that he rewrote in Navi. Now it's also very geschmack because I just popped the pen now. We learned, I think yesterday, that the 3 cities that were cultists that were not cultists until his cities. So not only did he rewrite the story or the tzivay, he was a Makayim, those psukim in the Torah, because after he did his cities, those cities took into effect. I just thought of that now. I don't know if it's a real shot. I'm just that was the horror. So it's not a lashon. No, it doesn't really fit into ksiva, but like it's more geschmack in a way that he really like finished off like the words of the Torah because he made his cities only once his cities were up and running. Then Moshe Rabbeinu's cities took into effect. That's Taka Geshmaga, interesting idea. Okay. So okay. So we're going to have another machlekes with Rabbi Yehuda, also completely unrelated to our sugya. Sefer shetafru b'pishtim, a sefer Torah that is sewn. The parchment is sewn together with flax. Pligi ba Rabbi Yehuda v'Rab Meir. Very straightforward. This pasuk is the gabe tefillin, but we make a hekesh from tefillin to Torah, and we say, and so Meir, the Meir doesn't say who it is. So the man that says this pasuk, it says because we make a hekesh for everything. So tefillin we know is. It has to be begidin, not with pishtin, because that's halacha mishum Sinai, and we make a hekesh to Veskish called tefillin, mat tefillin halacha mishum Sinai, the typhon begidin afkol. I don't have to say it. The Gemara says it for me. Afkol the typhon begidin. Afkol the typhon begidin. Very simple. The halacha mishum Sinai by tefillin. That's not a question. The question is only if I copy paste to Torah. And other man said, "This mutter. What do you do?" He also has this kavachim. A lot of times. We have that they don't have the hekesh, don't have the gzer shava. He learned that it has to be something that's mutter to eat. In other words, the halacha is also you cannot use treifa animal hide to write a klaf on, because everything that's used in the making of the sefer Torah, tefillin, whatever mezuzahs has to be edible. The paint has to be edible. The bottom have to be edible. Everything is edible. I wouldn't suggest it, but it's mutter to eat. We don't copy paste all the halachas. Rav Chia, which is what Rav Chia was his uncle, and he said, I saw my uncle's tefillin. Now they take out the word tefillin and they put it in Torah, because tefillin, and we'll see in a second, the tefiri bekissin, they was sewn with flax. But less halachas are saying, but halachas not like him. Now nobody holds that you could sew tefillin with flax. So it's not mistaver that his tefillin was sewn with flax. It could be that he paskin sefer Torah could be sewn with flax. Okay, now you have a shita, and even then Rav saying that halachas not like him. But to say that he had his tefillin sewn with flax or with linen is not pashas. And the arshitas that explain that, but that's I didn't see that. But the Api Pasha, they changed the girsa to his sefer Torah. It's like the Mishnah, Echad Mashiach B'Shem and Amishcha, Echad Amarubim Begadim. Any of these. So we learned in the previous Mishnah that the guy goes out when the Kohen dies. I don't know if we learned that in the last Mishnah, but we learned it, I think, previously. No, I don't think we learned it yet. But it's a common knowledge. Yeah, I don't think we learned it yet. But, oh my gosh, we did. No, I don't think we did. This is where the Gemara. I think this is where the Mishnah says it, but it could be it's just common knowledge, and yeah. Anyway, either one of these. Okay, we have a regular Kohen Gadol that we know about, and that even in Kohen Gadol, there's two statuses. There's a Kohen Mashiach, B'Shem and Mishra, that was until Yeshayahu, and then after that, the Kan V'Elach, the end of the Bayis Rishon and the whole Bayis Sheni was a Muvim Regadim, which means they just gave him the clothing and said, "Tada, you're a Kohen, you're a Kohen Gadol." And somebody had a psul and he went down, he went back up, not back up, but he got replaced after he filled in for the Kohen Gadol. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Af Meshuach Mulchama, even the Meshuach Mulchama, which is not really a Kohen Gadol, the Gemara is going to explain. He's the one who just gives the whole speech before the Bechama. Anybody who built a house and didn't live in it, it was married a woman and didn't do Nisuin, whatever the whole list we had in Megillah, the whole list of people who go out for a war, the people who are afraid of the Averis. So any of them who die with their death sends the the Ritzach B'Shaygeg back home. The Fikach, therefore, because any of these people who die, these people are waiting for them to die so they can go home. Their mother Shakahanim Mispakas them Machia B'Ksos Kadei Shelo Yispalo Abaneim Sheimuso. So the mothers of the Kohen Gedalim, they arrange food and clothing for all the cities. So they shouldn't die. That they should go home free, which is an interesting idea because imagine someone's in jail and they get free food and board. They're not going to not daven to go home. So what's pshat in that? What's pshat? So I heard, I think from Eli Stanansky, but it could be I heard earlier that when they daven, it's not going to be with like a full with belev shalom because in life also like they're pretty taken care of. So even just to take off that edge and take off that example, mamash b'leiv shalom, it already has an effect. You know what I mean? How do I know that all three of them are send the Ritzeach home? Amar kind of the Makra, the Yashav. It says in the pasuk 3 times the Kohen Gadol. So the Yashav, but Ad Mais HaKohen Gadol, he should sit there until the Kohen Gadol dies. That's one. The Ksiv ki be'ir mekaltai Yashav al Mais Ad Mais HaKohen Gadol. That's 2 psachim. The Ksiv Achri Mais HaKohen Gadol, and after the Kohen Gadol goes, he can go home. That's 3 Kohen Gedalim, right? So it's Kohen Meshuach, that's Kohen Merub Megadim, and Kohen Shavim Meshichasai. That's according to Tanakama. Fact of Rabbi Yehuda, Ksiv Krach, Achrina, Loshiv Lasheves, Be'eretz Ad Mois HaKohen. So it refers to the Kohen Gadol, but doesn't call him the Kohen Gadol, and therein lies the Machlekes. Ve'idach, Midolei Ksiv HaGadol, Chad Mahanachu. It refers to already another one. In other words, it's referring to one of the elements. It's not being mechadish, a new type of Kohen Gadol. So it's referring to the Kohen Gadol because it's not a new halacha now that it's not for Kohen dies, but it's referring to the Kahan that we said before. It's not a chiddush in Gadlos. This is the reason why they don't die is because they don't daven for that. Hamatsu maisi, but if they're going to daven, then they're going to die. Like a lost wandering bird. So to a kilas chinam, a unwarranted and unjust curse just should not affect the person. Like Tavai should not reach the person that it was aimed at. So we see that a curse bechinam. No, they're going to die. That he should die. But the Kohen God didn't do anything wrong. So why should his tefillah? Why should his curse work? Merahu Saba, which some says refers to Eliyahu Hanavi, Mipirke the Rava Shamile Shahayula and Levaki Shachim Al Daidim Leibikshu. that what he did wrong, what he did wrong was that he wasn't a spal. Now, what's interesting is that the Targum Ben and Azil and the Marsha also brings, maybe from him, I didn't see it inside, that the Ikatayin over here is that they should have davened on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh Kodashim for these people. Now, only one of these guys, well, two of them really, but the Kain, because Kain Meshuach and the Kain of Megadim don't overlap. Oh, I guess really all three of them end up in the base of this. We're not according to Yehuda. Okay, I hear that. They all end up, but you see later that it's not dafka. It's not dafka about the Kodesh Kodashim. So nothing more about that. Fine. So he should have asked Rachmanis. Well, he should have davened for them, and he didn't. So that's where the curse. That's where the davening can take effect, and that's what the kahanim. That's what the mothers of the kahanim gedolim are trying to fight and counteract. Now, it's more interesting why the kahanim or their wives cook for them. And there's reasons because they're not going to, because even if she. They're not going to. What was the cheshbon? If the wives die, if the wives cook for them, then they're gonna die. Then I forgot the cheshbon. If the wives cook for them, then what's the problem? Oh, because if they die before, I forgot the cheshbon over there. Okay, the Rishonim talk about it. I'm trying to. Okay, I'm not sure. Nothing more right there. The Masni today she yispal b'neim. Masni some have a different verse in the Mishnah. Today she yispal b'neim shelo. So they want to dafka feed the chavra to daven for their sons. Not that they shouldn't daven against their sons, but they should daven a positive davening for their sons. Time of the matzdu. But if they wouldn't daven for them, then they would die. What should they have done? What did they do wrong? I'm thinking, well, this sounds like a much stronger lashon. Because they know that the default they're punished and they should die. But unless the chaver come and down for them, then they're going to be saved. I mean, well, hachamina, hachamina. This is what we said. I'm skipping over here. Oh, yeah. This is what people say. Tovia chata v'zigud mangid. Tovia should do an aveira, and zigud should get patched. Now, this is a story in the Gemara that they went to Bezdin, and the guy said eight echad. This guy zigud said eidos about this guy Tovia. But it was 8 echad, so they couldn't do anything. So you just stopped saying lashon hara. So they end up beating Zigud. They gave Makkos, which is interesting because it's in Maisa. But they, so this is where this shvach came from. Hassam Amri of Eretz Yisrael, they used to say Shechem Nasiv Migvai Gazer. Shechem wants to get married, and everyone else has to get a bris milah. Migvai is one of the villages of it. This is a story with Shechem and Dinah that the Shimon and Levi or the older brothers said they have to be mal in order for us to hang out. And so the item was, this is like the shprach that came from Eretz Yisrael, that Shechem wants to get married and everyone else has to get a bris milah. Amar hahu saba, Pirkei Derav, this is again with the same lines before. Pirkei Derav, shamli shahaya lehen levakashak mal dairam v'lei bikshu. Okay, Dr. Marabaita. Ki had hahu gava de achle. Oh, I'm sorry. This continues the same idea. Ki had hahu gava de achle aryeh. Berachik plus a parsa minei, Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Within 3 parsa of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, someone got mauled and eaten by a lion. And because of that, he lost Gil Eliyahu for 3 days. Zok the Heli Gemara Vaita. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. So again, talking about this idea of cursing and whether it takes into effect or not, whether you deserve it. It's possible that kilas chacham has effect even though it's bechinam, it's undeserving. David, when he was digging the foundation of the Beis Hamikdash, he pulled off a piece of cheres, and like the whole Tahim came up and was Baal the Mishpat the Amma. He was going to mamish wash away the whole world. Amar Mahu. He said, "What's halacha? Lichtav Shema Chaspa Umishta V'Tahima the Leka Duchte. Should I? Is it mutter to write Hashem's name on Lichtav Shema Chaspa Umishta V'Tahima the Leka Duchte? Should I? Am I allowed to write Hashem's name on a piece of pottery and throw it into this place? So some people say it's the same piece that he picked up. He wants to put it back. But it might get erased Hashem's name. Leka the Amar Le Midi. No one wanted to jump in and pass on here. Amar Kol HaYoy the Dav Zeh the Eina Imra Yichanek Begrine. He should choke. Nasa Achitova came up with a Chavachayim over here. That's my Amar. He said like this. Umar Lasei Shalom Ben Ishla Ishla. Amar HaTayra Shmi Shenechta B'Kedusha Yimcha Almayim. To save the shalom bayis of a husband and wife. What does that mean? By a saita, when a man is makan his wife from hanging out with a specific person, and she's slicer with him, which means she hides with him for the kedei tuma, and he shupshes the bezdin. Now, at the point where she does stira after kina, after he's makan her, after kina, she does stira, she's asked to her husband. If he shupshes the bezdin and she does the whole meisait spiel, if she doesn't die, she's mutter. So in order to be matter, Isha Labala, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is willing to erase his name. Because part of the process is to take a whole shekel and write it on parchment and to erase it in water that comes in a special in a klicharis with dirt from the Mishkan, from a special place in the Beis Mikdash. A whole process, but the ikr for this Gemara is that Hashem's name is going to get erased in the process. And Hashem's masking to make sure to make her husband, he's masking to get his name erased. Of course, to save the whole world, Hashem's asking for this. Amalei Shari, so he piped up and he said, it's mutter. Chasav Shem Achas, but David Melech Taka wrote the name. Shadi Atahima Nachas V'Kam Aduchte. So you see, Taka, so he didn't do anything wrong, right? Achitofel didn't do anything wrong. He gave David Melech said, whoever doesn't give me the advice, whoever has Eita and doesn't tell me, he should choke. Achitofel stepped up and gave him advice, and everything worked out. He realized he was trying to overthrow David later on, and he realized that his Eitzah wasn't going to work out, and David Melech was going to be Matzliach. And he went home, he wrote his last will and testament, and he hung himself. So they say that that really wasn't enough for him to. No, the question is, you don't see that the curse took place. You just see that he decided to kill himself because his plot didn't work out, and he wasn't going to sleep. They say that it's not, that wasn't enough of a reason. But I'm saying just. Balabatis, you could say he could have killed himself by letting his car run in the garage. Also, there's other ways to kill himself. The fact that he killed himself with Chenek was because of the curse. It's something like that. But I guess the other answer is better because it shows that Itaka died because of that. Okay, right there. So at the end of the Gemara, Amar Avo kill this chacham if he do al tanai he kill this chacham even al tanai. He's saying even bechinam, it's not deserved, and even if he makes a tanai and he puts into the curse that it shouldn't be, it's David Melech just said it's thing pashut, and it happens to be with bechinam. But over here, even al tanai, you still find that it could take into effect. It could take effect. Well, minalan Eli. The Amar le Eli l'Shmuel Kay Yasef Elikim v'Kay Yosef im Techiched Mimeni Davar. If he's basically Shmuel got a nevuah, and he didn't want to tell Eli, was not good regarding Eli's sons, and Eli cursed him and said, "If you don't tell me if you don't tell me the nevuah, it should be to you what Hashem said about me, and even more." Or yeah. The Afagav, the Chsiv, Vayaged, La'eged Le'Shmuel, as called Advarim, V'Loi Chiched, Mimenu, V'Afilochi Chsiv, V'Yalchavanav, B'Drachav. We had already in Megillah that it said that Shmuel's sons did not follow in his footsteps. Amar Yehuda, Amar Rav, Nidai al Tanai Tzarech Hafar. If someone makes a Nidai al Tanai, he needs Hafar. I mean, only Yehuda the Chsiv, Nidai is like a self-imposed a promise, I guess. A nida is like a neder, a promise, a chayrim, like that Indian. So how do we know from Yehuda the Chsiv in loy hevi Yosef elecha that what Yehuda promised Yaakov did not want to send Binyamin because he was nervous he wasn't going to get him back, and Ruvain said that Ruvain said something but Yaakov wasn't masking, and Yehuda said I'm going to give him my haba. Yehuda, I think Reuven said my kid should also die, and he said, "Man, the head is a helmet." But Yehuda said, "I should lose my elam haba." And then he said, "Okay, fine. You're taking willing to take a chrayas, no problem." So he said it tonight. He cursed himself. He made himself an nida that he's not going to go into elam haba without Binyamin back, and he brought back Binyamin. So this we're going to see the story of Yehuda and how it affected him. How this nida that he made all those years ago affected him after Misa, even though he was Mekayim tonight. Then the following pasuk. This is Moshe going to give me brachas to the shvatim, and then he says v'zais to Yehuda. So why do you jump from Reuven to Yehuda? And why do you say v'zais? That's two anomalies that are by this bracha. Kol Eisa men shana shahaya yisar b'midbar. All the 40 years of the midbar that the Yidden were running around with the atzamis of all the shvatim really. But they said the guy with the other shvatim wasn't atzamis; they were more intact. Atzamis Yehuda hayu megulgalin ba'arain. They were bouncing around the arain. Ad sheyamid Moshe ubikesh lerachim. Moshe stood up and was mispalo on his behalf. What do you say? Amar l'fanav Rebbeinu Shalom. Mi garim l'Reuven sheyoda. Who was garim to Reuven that he should be moida to his avera that he switched the tents after Rachel was died? He switched from Bilhah to Zilpah. I think Bilhah. He switched the tents. I forgot who's who, but he switched. He switched. Yaakovin was going to go to Rachel's Amma, and he switched it to Leah's Amma. To Leah. Shema Hashem Kal Yehuda. So because of that, he Ibrei l'shafa. His bones went back into the sockets. But even so he was a little bit more yushav physically, whatever that means. But his body was a little more yushav, his bones. But they still didn't let him go into Shemayim. And then the pasuk continues, "Va'al imay tivienu." We had this Lagabe Am Mordechai is also his chavra. It refers to yeshiva. So they let him into yeshiva. That's the next part of the pasuk. But there was still a problem because he wasn't able to hold the learning with the chavra over there. So Bahadi Rabbana. So it says Yadav. So the next part of the pasuk is Yadav Rav. So he should be able to hold his own. He should be able to hold his own in yeshiva. And there was Taka Mekoyim. Then like have a Yadav the Pruke Kushia. But then if someone asked him a question, he didn't know how to answer. The Eza Mitzvah Tiyah. That's the last part of the pasuk, and the whole pasuk reads as follows: Zayis Yehuda v'yayim Shema Hashem Kol Yehuda ve'el Amoy. That's referring to the bones. Ve'el Amoy Tivienu. That gets him into yeshiva. Yadav Rav they should to hold him learning with the chaver there. Eza Mitzvah Tiyah is referring to being able to answer questions. In fact, the Gemara of Misas Kulan, who chayza aidim of Misas ach echamen. The Mishnah first says that all these kahanim, all these different types of kahanim, now obviously can't be kulam because you didn't have a kaim Mashiach and a kaim Megadim in the same time. So obviously it's not all the mamash. But it means, I guess, I guess you need the kaim Mashiach and the Meshachasai, and according to Yehuda, another guy, the Shulchan Mechama. That the Gemara asks, is it all of them or is it any one of them? The next Mishnah says that if he finishes his court case and he doesn't have a Kain Gadol, if he finishes his court case and he doesn't have a Kain Gadol, there's no Kain Gadol in office, then he doesn't go out l'aylam. Then Isa had the and if you're saying that it's only one of them, then he should be able to go out from the other ones. Everything more, but the if you're saying that it could be either one of them, then even though there was no Kain Gadol in office, but then the Kain the next one in line, the Kain Shavar, he also if he let him die and set him free. Right, the whole Kain Gadol thing was completely I don't know how to say it, but no, there was no one in office. The whole Kohen Gadol thing was they didn't. It worked out that there was no Kohen Gadol at that time, not in any position of the Kohen Gadol. You know, like Lahavdil made me think of the government over there in Iran. The whole cabinet is all positions are available. So the other Mishnah, Mishnah Dina Meis Kohen Gadol. If from the second after the Gemar Din that he's chayiv Golas because the Bezdin figured out he did a b'shayge, go to Golas, and all of a sudden they get the Kohen Gadol dies. He doesn't have to even go to Golas. He stays in. He goes straight from Bezdin. He gets his verdict and he goes straight home. If he's in the middle of the back and forth of court and the Kohen Gadol goes bye bye, the Kohen Gadol is nifter. Again, nigmar dina meis Kohen Gadol. Umanu acher tachto, and there's another one that comes into office. I guess anytime. Nigmar dina chayzer. Oh no, if he has to be appointed in the middle of his, if he's appointed in the middle of his court case, then this Kohen Gadol, it's enough if he got appointed before the Gemara Din that he should go out free b'misasai. That was this new Kohen Gadol. He would free the death of the new Kohen Gadol would free the guy who got convicted after, as long as he got convicted after his appointment. Nigma dina b'loi Kohen Gadol. If he gets it, so we're going to go through a few cases that do not go out forever. Nigma dina b'loi Kohen Gadol. If his Gemara din is, which we just brought this halacha down, if his Gemara din happens without a Kohen Gadol in office, the Kohen Gadol, somebody who kills a Kohen Gadol, the Kohen Gadol shaharek, and a Kohen Gadol that kills someone else, and that's misham aylam never goes out. The Ina Yotzid, this is referring to any Goyal Adam, any Ritzeach B'Shaygi. The following halachas. The Ina Yotzid loy le'edus mitzvah, not to be mechadish l'chaydish, which is mamish tonight. Not the you wouldn't say edus tonight, but you're mechadish the chaydish is tonight. Le'edus mitzvah, the loy le'edus mammon, and not to get involved in a financial dispute. The loy le'edus nefashos, and not for edus nefashos to not for edus to either to kill someone or to save someone. Even if everybody needs him, he's a big Hatzalah member, he's a big knacker. Sar tzva Yisrael ki Yov ben Tzurya. Even a David HaMelech's general, even if he's mamish, like he's only he could do this job. It's still in a Yotz Misham. L'Olam doesn't mean, again, over here the Pashas is we're talking about all Sheikh Chidam b'Shaygei. And it doesn't mean the means until it's his time to go out. So we learn out Sham Tehei Dirasai, Sham Tehei Misasai, Sham Tehei Klurasai. He lives there, he dies there, and he is buried there. Kashem She'ir Kaltas, the Gemara says another idea. Kashem She'ir, the Mishnah says another idea. Kashem She'ir Kaltas Kach Tchuma Kalet. So the Tchum of the city is also Kalet. Let's say he's going for a stroll and he goes outside the Tchum. I have an interesting story about the Tchum, but not for now. Only the Goyal Adam has a mitzvah here to kill him, and everyone else, it's open season, whatever. If you want to kill him, you can kill him. The Goyal Adam is not a chiyuv to kill him; it's a reshus. And everyone else, if you kill him, the mazid, you are chayav misa. Okay, so talking about right there. Right time. What's the reason? What's the reason why if after the nigmad then the kohen dies, he goes out free, doesn't have to go to Golas. I'm gonna buy a kavachayim roman misha gal kvar yatsa achshav madach, somebody who was already nigla, who was already in Golas. He goes out free. Misha loy gala in adin shlo yigla. I'm thinking more of a dema hide the Gola ichparle. This guy already went to Golas, so he had a skapara. Hide loy gala loy midi. Hide loy gala midi. He didn't get his Galus. He didn't get his kapara. I'm going to go Galus. Come chapra. Misa's kain. Who the mechapra. The Gemara says that the kain, the not going into Galus is mechapra daber. The kain dying is mechapra daber. Is the mechapra the shegeg. Very interesting. It says in the Mishnah, "Im ad shalei nigmar dinai." So he said that until his Gemara didn't finish, the kain gets appointed and dies. It goes out free. For the Gemara, Amar Rav Kan Amar Krav Yashav Ba'ad Mais Hakayin Agadol Asher Mashach Isai, that he is anointed. In fact, the Gemara this guy, this Ritzach B'Shegeg was the one who anointed the Kayin. It's not, he didn't anoint him, but he was anointed in his days. And not in his days since he was born, in his days since he became this new identity of a Ritzach B'Shegeg. How is it his fault? In other words, we said before that the Kayin Gadol dying has to do with this guy because it's kind of on him in a way. The Kayin Gadol has to bear some responsibility for this guy's Aveira B'Shegeg. What could he have done? He just got appointed today. And with the Gemara, so you see, it's not negayah to Yom Kippur only, because he was supposed to, on the day of his inauguration, be mispal for all those that are in horrible court cases for Ritzach B'Shegeg, and he could have davened to them, and he didn't. Amar Abaya and Aktina Nigmar. We have a Messiah Nigmar Dinai v'Meis Ma'ilichenes Atzmeseyen l'Sham. If he, let's say he gets his verdict, Galus, and he drops dead on the spot, or before he's able to go in the Galus, he dies. Then we take his bones and we put it in, and we bring it to the Ari Mikla. How do we know? The Chsiv Lashav L'Sheves Ba'aretz Ad Moisakain. He should live he should go to the land. Ve'ezel Yeshiva. I don't think the dik is in Ba'aretz because we'll see later. Ve'ezel Yeshiva Shehi Ba'aretz. What kind of yeshiva is in the land? It's a kavur. It's a mamashi settling in the land. Tana we learned mace kaidim shemeis kain gadol. If he dies before the kain gadol dies, so he dies in galus. You after the kain gadol dies, then they exhume the body and they bring it and they bury it back where his in the family plot. How do we know? The Chsiv Yoshev Ritzach al Eretz Achuzas al Eretz Achuzasei. Ezel Yeshiva Shehiba Eretz Achuzasei. That's what I'm saying. There's no diak over here with the base. That's why it's not. I'm not sure exactly what the diak is. Al Eretz Achuzasei could just be read Pshutai. So the Gemara writes, Nigma Dina V'Nasa Kayin Ben Grusha Mechalutza. Let's say, now obviously we're not talking about he became a Grusha Mechalutza because you cannot become a Grusha Mechalutza after your birth. But they found out, and there's Edus, they passed on him that he was a Grusha Mechalutza. So again, Nigma Dina Benasa Kain Ben Grusha Mechalutza. So this Kain Gadol is in office. He's a very, very chashuv position. All of a sudden, there's Edus that his mother really is a Grusha Mechalutza. That's interesting. They always put it together, Grusha Mechalutza, but I'm pretty sure Chalutza is the Rabbanan, that he's a Chalal. But still, we always loop them together. So Akitzer, we find out. So he's Nigma Dina, and then next week, the next thing on the docket is this guy's Edus that he's a Ben Grusha Mechalutza. Reb Ami v'Rabbi Yitzchak Nafchad Amar Mesa Kahuna v'Chad Amar Batla Kahuna. So you see, look, his Kahuna died. Yesterday he was a Kayin, and today he's not a Kayin anymore. So his Kayin his Kayinship is over. So you can go out. And the other one says no, his Kayin is Batla. His Kayin is Batla L'Mafreya. In other words, he was never a Kayin L'Chapskela. So you don't go out because that means you were in down. You had to go out with his death. You don't go out loyal because it turns out that you were Nigma Dinai without a claim. She just said you don't go out. Maybe book to again. His kohen was batal mafrei, and you got convicted without a kain gadol in office. Lema bepluked to the Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shua kamiflagi, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shua kamiflagi the Tanan. Hayaymiru makriv agabe amazech. This is a very scary thing, right? So a kain is doing karbanas. Then all of a sudden they find that there's Ben Grusha Mechalutza. Rabbi Eliezer says all the karbanas that he did l'mafreya are pasal. Rabbi Shua machsher. Rabbi Shua is machsher. Man Amar Mesa. According to Man Amar that says it's Mesa Rabbi Shua. So let's say Man Amar Mesa Rabbi Shua because it's Mikan Mahaba. And let's say the one who says that it's bottle is like Rabbi Lezer who says it goes on Freya. So I'll leave it that Rabbi Lezer Kuli Amalei Pligi. According to Rabbi Lezer, everyone agrees that Rabbi Lezer would argue. Everyone agrees that Rabbi Lezer would not let this guy go out with the misa of the Kain Gadol, right? Rabbi Lezer Shita by a Kain Shehekra Umatza Ben Grush Bechalutza is it's obvious from that shita that in a case of Kain Gadol that's found to be a Ben Grush Bechalutza, his Kainship is revoked Lemafreya, and of course this guy got convicted without a Kain Gadol in office. According to Rabbi Shua, the question is like, according to Rabbi Shua that says that the karbanos are not possible Lemafreya, Manda Amar Mesa Rabbi Shua, Manda Amar Batla. So the one who says Mesa is Pashit, right? Because it's Mekan Abatz, it's very straightforward. But even the Mandahama that says that it's Batla, he would say that Adkan Mandahama Batla Adkan Rabbi Shua Hasam Dechsiv Baruch Hashem Chilu Upayal Yadav Tirza. Because Baruch Hu wants and the handiwork and all of his things. So, and I think from the Lashon Chilu, it's Ramashma Afilu Chulin Shavai. Even once, in other words, once it's already done and it's put on the mizbeach and it's burnt, okay, it doesn't become possible and it's okay. But Rabbi Shua doesn't have a pasuk by Kohen Gadol that turns this guy into that stops the kahuna gedolaship from here and on out. In other words, everyone agrees that the guy's a chol from birth, right? No one says that the guy became a chol at age 30 years old. Any woman that he was boil, l'chayra, was a chalala, according to everybody. I don't think that's a machlekes. The machlekes is only in karbanos because it is pasuk in Rabbi Shua. Nigma dinai. I don't think that Rabbi Shua would hold that a woman that he was boiled yesterday is the kasher. I can't imagine that. The Mitzias, he's a chala. Nigma dinai sagt the Mishnah Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav shtei tias tai Yov. Yov was wanted for murder when Shlomo Melech became king. Before David died, he made Shlomo promise him that he's going to kill Yoav because he killed 2 people in David's camp. So Yoav knew that he was in trouble, and he ran to. We're going to see he ran to Abama. So we tell you as well as a shot. Say Yonas Yoav el Ayel Hashem v'yachzik b'kardas mizbech ta she'ena kalet ela gagai v'hu tafis b'karnai. So he was grabbing on the corner, but you have to be on top of the roof on top of where all the action is going on. They have to be over there in order to be kalet. Ta she'ena kalet ela mizbech b'seilamas v'hu tafis mizbech shashila, which is not b'shila because just from the timeline it doesn't make any sense, but it means that he ran into Abama. Abaya Omer v'hanami. He also made a third mistake. He was the Yisrael, and only a kain that's in the middle of doing the avoda doesn't get killed while he's on the mizbeach. Amar Shlakish Shleisha Tiyusa Asid Sari Shal Raimi Litais Lasid Lave B'Meher Mamish. The Sar Shal Edom is going to make 3 mistakes when he's trying to run for cover once everything gets all blown up. T'chsiv mizeh ba me'edom chametz begadem b'btzara. So Hashem Kaviyach is coming from the b'tzara with bloody clothes. I think it's referring to Hakadosh Baruch Hu again. Obviously, it's not some sort of dogma. It's not something it's not physical. He went to Batzara, but really Batzara, but only Batzara is our we had yesterday and 2 days ago. Who guided the Batzara? Who made it haya? Adam. Who Malachu. So he made 3 mistakes. One is the wrong city. One is that he's a Mezid, not a Shagi, and one is that he's a Malach and not a person. Obviously, this is not a Gemara to be understood Pshutai, but that's how we're doing it today. You cannot bury an Ari Miklat. This Ari Miklat again are referring to, these are the cities of the Levium, of Shevet Levi, it's Levi and Kanim. And the pasuk says, "U'Megarsheyem yu levehemtam, u'Lechusham, u'Lechol chayasam." And the Garsheim is like the outside part of the city that is not supposed to be developed. To leave like a little bit of a buffer between the cities, I think that's what the Gershon is. So you can't. So it should be for the behemoths, for their stuff like storage and for anything that they need for their livelihood. So we learn now l'chayim nasnu v'loy kfura. Talking about a Meisrei, we had our Mishnah, right? Shema, we learned in our Mishnah. Shema. We dash in the pasuk Shema. Shamtei dirasei, Shamtei misasei, Shamtei kfurasei. So and the Gemara, so we see that what you do bury him. The Gemara says Shani, the Gali Berachmana. We have a special pasuk that comes to tell you that he's allowed to be buried there. But stam for the Levium to bury their own people, that's not allowed. Oh wow, it's late. Okay, let's stop over here. I thought I was going to get down to the Mishnah, but we are. Actually, no, okay, let's stop over here, and we will. Let's just pick up tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mo. Love you. So proud of you.
Love you too.